Hello, I'm Carrie, and welcome to episode 6 of the Sego Fibers podcast. Hello and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. So glad you're here. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. This is a knitting podcast where I talk about what I've been making. I talk about what I'm currently knitting on and what I'd like to be knitting, as well as yarn and dyeing and other knitting yarn related things as they come up. Let's see, I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah, where it's definitely spring/summer. The weather could be anywhere from 100 degrees to 70 for the high, so it's still fluctuating a lot, but we've been enjoying being outside quite a bit, so that's been really nice. The garden is doing really well. Lots of things are blooming. The blackberries finally have flowers on them, and these are peonies from our garden. I'm very excited about these because it's the first year they're really blooming and doing well. I think last year we may have had like one flower, but we have a lot this time, so I'm very excited about that. I think that's it for the weather update. All right, well, I think I should probably address the elephant in the room. I have a finished object. This is my first ever garment that I've finished. So this is the Lin Tee by Irene Roche, and it's a free pattern, and I'm so happy with it. I'll try and put video of me wearing it so I don't have to stand up now. But I can't believe I actually finished a garment. I've done hats and shawls and scarves and mittens and socks and like all sorts of accessories, but garments. So this just feels like a real milestone for me. And this episode is going to have a ton of firsts. So I tried a lot of new techniques to me in the last couple weeks, and I have a first garment, and we'll see if I can figure out some firsts for technical YouTube video stuff like chapters and links that will hopefully appear here. If they don't, you'll know I didn't quite get it this time, and maybe in a future episode I'll figure it out. But all of the information and links to anything will be below in the description box. So if you're ever looking for anything, it's just down here. Let's see. Oh yeah, all the firsts. So first garment, very proud. I go into detail about how I made it and the modifications I did in my last episode, so if you're curious, feel free to check that out. My gauge for this was different. I'll talk about the yarn. So the yarn I used is 100% linen, sport weight, and the white is Euroflax pure white, and the dark purple pink is Potent Berry by Fibra Natura Flax, and the light pink, let's see if you can see, yeah, this light pink is also Fibra Natura Flax in Pale Blush, and this brown that's slightly variegated is a mystery. I don't know. So I got all this yarn as a Christmas present a couple years ago, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. And so I really wanted to kind of dive into the garment world, and so I figured I'd just use what I have. And anyway, so this brown did not have a band with it, so I'm not sure what it is. The Euroflax white comes in 100 gram skeins, and the Fibra Natura Flax comes in 50 grams. And so I ended up having 100 grams of each color except for the brown. which was somewhat less, like between 70 and 80 grams probably. And this is what I have left of the pale blush and what I have left of the potent berry. This is probably my favorite color. I just love it. And here's what I have of the white. Just one little cake because it was a single skein. And this is what I have left of the variegated brown, or the tonal brown. This is 2.5 grams, and I stopped using it. Let's see. This is the last. Okay. I have 2.5 grams left, and I stopped using it right here. This is the last stripe of it because I was weighing the yarn as I was going, because definitely playing yarn chicken, and I was getting nervous, so I started weighing my yarn before a stripe, and each stripe takes slightly over 3.8 grams, and so I knew like this wouldn't even do another stripe, and I had 2 more full stripes of the brown to go for the body and then the sleeves. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? In the last episode I talked about like alternatives, like potential solutions for the yarn chicken problem. Like, do I just skip the brown and just have like a different patterning on this side? Do I add another color? Do I get more yarn? Whatever. So I ended up getting more yarn. And like I said, this brown is a mystery, so I wasn't quite sure where to look for it or even what to look for. But I knew that Fibra Natura flax works, and so I looked at their colors, and they have this taupe color that is really close. It's a solid, so it doesn't have that tonality. However, like, it's really close. I make the change. I do 2 stripes. Yeah, okay. So this is, I think, the first stripe of the new color, and that's the old color. And when no, that's the first stripe. Okay. And when I look closely at it and I'm looking for it, I can tell. This one is slightly warmer, a touch darker, and it has the tonality. This one is slightly lighter and cooler, and a solid. And so if you're looking for that, you can tell it's probably most obvious here on the hems, but that is definitely close enough for me. I am totally happy with that. And on the plus side, I have more of this to use for other projects, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, so I'm very pleased with the yarn. It's worked up beautifully, and let's see, it feels really, well, it feels soft as a garment now, especially since blocking, and it's not soft to knit with. I actually ended up getting calluses on my fingers where I tension the yarn because it's, I hate to say rough, that doesn't seem like the right word, but it's just not soft. It's not like wool, and it's not fuzzy. It's just, I don't know, like, it's just not soft. And so, but anyway, my fingers got used to it, and I don't mind knitting with it at all now. And anyway, the fabric is really lovely, and it does feel light. Anyway, I really love the fabric. It feels really good, and it has a great drape to it. I love just the density. Like, it's not too dense, it's not too light. My gauge was 29 stitches per 4 inches, and that was a tighter gauge than the pattern called for. I think it calls for 25 stitches instead of 29. I ended up adding some extra stitches at the bottom, but I don't think I really needed to. It's long enough. I mean, I don't mind it now, but I don't think that was a crucial thing. However, I didn't even think about gauge when I was doing the sleeves, and when I first tried this on after binding off and even starting to weave in the ends, I realized, hey, I should probably try this on before I get too far. Like get everything completely wrapped up and finished. The armholes were really riding up and it felt rather uncomfortable. And I hadn't blocked it yet, and the fabric was a little bit stiff, and so I was just like, oh man, I'm nervous. And because I didn't want a shirt that was unwearable that I'd put all this work into. And it's like, I understand, like, this is just a first garment. It does not need to be perfect by any stretch, but I would love to be able to wear it. Any baby noises you're hearing are courtesy of Lydia. She's 3 months old and she's happy and talky and somewhat waking up from her nap. So hopefully we'll be able to podcast still. All right, where was I? All right, so I'm jumping around all over the place with this project because I'm just getting distracted. I'm sorry. But let's see. So yes, I tried it on and I felt very nervous because the arms felt too small, like the openings for the arms. And so like, okay, before I finish weaving in the ends, I'm just going to block it, see if I can really stretch out the arms, and then try it again. And I also noticed that when I was wearing it, the stripes were wanting to twist. So they were like wanting to spiral a little bit like that or something. And so like, oh, maybe blocking can help that too. I didn't initially block it because I thought, well, you block wool, do you block linen? Is that a thing? I don't know. But I decided to try it and it totally helped. It made a really big difference and I'm very happy with that. And I feel like it fixed a lot of problems. So I really tugged this way on the arm openings, and now, like if I were to make it again, I'd probably make it a little bigger, but it's very comfortable now and I'm quite happy wearing it. It's not awkward at all. It doesn't feel uncomfortable, and I'm quite happy with it. And I also, the hem at the bottom, I don't know if you can even see. Okay, this hem at the bottom really wanted to like flip up or like flip under naturally, but blocking made it lay flat, which is really nice. And blocking also straightened the stripes. So it's like winds in all directions and it softened up and has better drape. And so it's like, oh, blocking really is magic. So I'm quite pleased with that. Yeah. So the gist of the modifications, pretty much I added more stripes in the middle to make sure it would go over my head, and I added more stitches at the bottom to make because my gauge was off and I didn't want it to be too short and I wanted to be able to tuck the shirt in if I wanted to, and it's plenty long. The needles I used are ChowGoo 3.25 millimeter needles. I started out with bamboo because I have an interchangeable set that's bamboo, and I've heard that wood needles are better for linen. But as I was knitting with the wooden ones, it was just, they were grabbing the yarn too much and the stitches weren't sliding like I wanted them to. And then I remembered I have metal needles in the same size, so I just switched those out, and it's gone a lot faster and has been a lot smoother and a lot more pleasant to knit. So I was very pleased with that, and I will continue to use metal needles for linen now because that's just a good combo for me. A first for this garment is I learned how to mattress stitch, and I learned to mattress stitch in 2 directions, which is I didn't even know was a thing. I'd heard of mattress stitching, but I didn't know what it was or what it looked like or anything. I've never done a seamed garment before. I've never had to seam knitting. And so basically the way this shirt is constructed, you cast on the sleeve, you start knitting this way, then you cast on a whole bunch of stitches, a bunch for the front and a bunch for the back. Then you knit this like really long flat piece for a while. Then you get to the neckline and you knit the front, and then you knit the back separately, then you join them again, do long rows, and then bind off the front and back, and then do this sleeve, and then bind off this sleeve, and then you seam them together. And so here, this is actually, this white is mattress stitched, and it looks like knitting. It looks really cool. And it wasn't hard at all. I was so surprised. I actually really didn't mind it, and I love the look. I think it looks really cool. And then this is, I'll include links to the tutorials I found. And this is the vertical mattress stitching. That part probably got a little messier because there were increase, decrease things happening, and so I just kind of winged it, but at least the stripes line up for the most part, and no one's going to be looking under there, so it doesn't matter anyway. And here's how the other side looks. Yeah, the mattress stitching is this light pink stripe, and so I'm really just pleased with how that works. And let's see if I can show. That's the inside seam. I love how neat that technique is. I just think that is really cool. Whoever came up with mattress stitching is a genius. It's really simple and clean and quite effective. Yeah, so I'll include links to Purl Soho's mattress stitching tutorials either below, well, they will be below, they may or may not be up here. So hopefully that's a helpful thing. I'm very pleased with this, with the Lynn Tee by Irina Roche. I'd recommend it. I'm curious how it would work in different yarn, but 100% linen works great. Yeah, I'm just really excited to have a first garment, and I definitely have the bug to knit more, which brings me to works in progress. So I definitely have the sweater bug, or the garment bug now, and I wanted to cast on something else. And I have more linen yarn, which is also the Euroflax linen in sport weight. It's now, it used to be by, like the kind I have is, the brand is Louette, but I think they changed names to Lofty Fiber in case you're looking for it. It's the same yarn, just a different brand name. And this is the color Pink Panther. And I have 200 gram skeins, and, or at least the band says it's 100 grams, but I actually ended up weighing it, and they were each like 130 grams. So that's a win. Not quite sure how that happened, but that was really nice. So I looked at a bunch of, well, I looked on Ravelry for a lot of different summer tops, and I really like the gauge of this, and since I'm using the same yarn, the same needles, this shirt is my gauge swatch. And so I wanted to find something that had like a very similar gauge, and that was surprisingly hard to find. I was looking for a raglan, a top-down raglan with a gauge of about 29 stitches per 4 inches, and I couldn't quite find it. However, I found the pattern Milla's Summer Top by Camilla Carlson, and it's a top-down raglan, and it had several sizes, and it was a gauge that wasn't too far off from mine. I'm not sure offhand what the gauge was supposed to be. I'll have to check. I know mine was maybe a handful of stitches off, which is still significant, but I could figure it out basically. And I wanted to do a raglan because, well, a top-down raglan because I didn't want to play yarn chicken, hence the top-down part. I wanted to knit in a circle because this one was flat and I wanted to do something different. And I've heard that raglans are fairly flexible and forgiving. Like you can make the yokes deeper if you need to and just kind of modify pretty simply. And so I wanted to give that a try. And so I'm doing that with this pattern and I really am enjoying it. So I'm knitting the size extra large because my gauge is smaller than hers, and this one, the stitch count I have will be the equivalent of somewhere between an extra small and small. It sounds pretty drastic, but as far as gauge goes, but it seems to be working so far. So let me show you what I have. So, okay, so when I ran out of the brown yarn for the tee, I immediately cast on other projects because, you know, gotta keep knitting. And so I cast this on while I was waiting for that yarn. And so this was right there. And let me show you figure out which way's the front. Okay. I can't believe I've knit this much already. Ah, man, this is a lot of firsts as well. First raglan, first in the round garment. First, I've never done raglan increases before. I've never done German short rows before. So they're right here. And what else is first? Maybe that's it. But yeah, so I've knit an entire skein of yarn already and I'm on my second cake. And I'm just about done with the yoke. So I've knit all this so far, and because of my experience with the armholes being a bit small, I'm being extra cautious with this one, and so I'm trying to make sure there's plenty of room for the arms and they're not too high. I was watching Andrea Mowry's, it's either her latest episode or her second to latest, but she was just answering questions and mentioned that a good place to split for sleeves is 1 or 2 inches below your armpit. And so I'm trying to get to that point. So I tried it on and we're about there. So I'm doing just a few extra rows. Like I completed all the raglan stitches, and so now I'm just doing a few extra rows to get to the right, I don't know, depth to make it low enough to split for sleeves. I probably only have maybe 2 to 5 rows more, we'll see. Yeah, so I'm trying to be a bit cautious with the arms, but so far so good. So with this being my first time doing a raglan. I've never done raglan increases before, and when I was reading the pattern for how she recommended doing it, I didn't understand it at first, so I looked up other ways of doing raglan increases, and so I just picked one of those. And so when I get to a stitch marker for the raglan, I would just do knit front and back, slip marker, knit front and back, and keep going. And I just did that each time, or every other row. So that's what I did for that. But now that I've gotten this far, I think I understand what she meant, so I could probably do that next time. And she also said for the short row shaping, you could either do wrap and turns or German short rows. And I was feeling a bit adventurous, and so I decided, okay, I already know how to do wrap and turns, and I keep hearing about German short rows, so why don't I don't know, learn how to do German short rows too. So I found a tutorial for that, which I'll share. And yeah, I cannot believe it. Like, I did them, and yet I have a hard time seeing where the turns are. It's a really cool method, and it's really easy. I would definitely, this is definitely my preferred style. It's really easy, it's beautiful, it looks like my knitting looks uninterrupted. It's a really cool technique. So if you haven't tried it, maybe give it a go. One question I have, since this is my first time doing short rows for a garment, and is it, like, I know the front is supposed to be lower than the back, that's the point. However, is the front of the neckline supposed to have this kind of dip? Like, is that normal? Is that because I'm knitting with linen and it doesn't like bounce like wool would? Do you think blocking would help get this out? It probably would. I don't know. It was even more pronounced a little while ago, but where like this would kind of go, gee, or yeah. It kind of looked like that. I suppose it'll block out. If not, it won't bother me. But yeah, so I've been working away on this like a mad person, so this has been a lot of fun. It's definitely potato chippy in the sense of like, okay, if I get this number of stitches, is it going to work? How deep do I need this to be? Where do I even look to split for sleeves? And oh, I'm almost there. I'm almost ready to try on. It's like, oh, let's try it on. Oh, okay, let me just get the stitches back on the needles. Okay, let's do a couple more rounds and try it on again. Okay, like that kind of thing. It's very addicting, and I'm loving the stockinette, and it's just so easy and mindless. I haven't had to look at the pattern in a long time, and that's really nice for like knitting while I'm watching the kids and just going outside and knitting while they play and like that kind of thing. It's just been a lot more portable and doable than I ever expected a garment to be. So I'm super thrilled with that. Oh, and in the pattern, she has project photos of some of the ones that she's done, and she has really good color and stripe sense. It is hard trying to organize like where stripes should be in a garment in order to look trendy, not accidental. I mean, like not even trendy, but even just to look good. Like, it's hard to figure that out. And she does a really good job. She has a couple options for stripes that I really like. And I mean, I'm not doing that for this one just because my yarn doesn't work out that way. But anyway, if you're interested in a striped raglan, that's pretty interesting. She has some good options for that. Yeah, so done with the raglan and creases. Now I'm just getting it to the point where I split for sleeves, and then I'll figure out that part and be on Sleeve and Body Island. So my plan for the rest of it is to do probably the sleeves before the body. That way I make sure I don't run out of the pink. And then I'll do a stripe of the taupe at some point, or whenever I run out of the pink, or a little earlier if I think it looks better. And then after the taupe, I will use, oh dear, okay, let's get this, I guess it's fine. Then I will use this color, which is also 100% linen. It's sport weight, and unfortunately, again, I have no idea who made it or what the color is. It didn't come with a ball band, but I also got it as part of my Christmas present. But I think it's really cool, so I think I'll put this at the bottom. And so like these will be kind of the way the colors go. I don't know, they look kind of good next to each other, but I like the brown. Could end it with the brown. Do it like that. Anyway, not quite sure how I'll transition all the colors, but I will use all of these, I'm pretty sure. And there's 130 grams of this too, so that's pretty awesome. And 36 grams left of this one. So I'm pretty sure I used about 14 in the tea. So I'm really glad I went ahead and ordered that. It was just $10 on Amazon. So like, I looked at anywhere local that might have it, and I couldn't find anything. And Amazon had the cheapest price, so I just went for it. But anyway, so that is Milla's Summer Top. I'm really looking forward to making more of these. It seems like a really versatile pattern, and because of the different sizes in it, I think depending on your gauge, you have some options as far as yarns to use and needles and stuff like that. And I cast on something else while I was waiting for the brown yarn to come in, and that is a pair of Latvian mittens finally. So the ones I cast on are the weekday mittens, and they're from this book, Knit Like a Latvian. And this is the one I'm making. I have yarn to make 3 pairs, but this is the first one I'm gonna do. And put that sticky note back. Okay. First yarn I'm using for it is Jamieson and Smith. This is the Shetland Supreme Jumper Weight. It's 100% real Shetland wool, dye-free, and it's 50 grams and 188 yards. And this is the colorway 2006. It's a really nice kind of oatmeal beige colorway. It has flecks of brown in it, which I just love. It's such a nice neutral. It's super woolly, and I think it's woolen spun. I believe so. It's just super squishy and soft. And the other color, the contrast, is also Jamieson and Smith. This is their 2-ply jumper weight. Also real Shetland wool, and it's a 25 gram ball with 125 yards. And this is colorway FC50 mix. It's a cross between pink and purple. And my hunch is to say it leans purple. It's just really nice. It's really warm and beautiful. It's like a mix of warm and cools, actually. Anyway, here they are together. And this is on purpose a low contrast combination. This is a gift knit for a family member, and she's pretty classy and modern, and I think these colors would just suit her really well. And they're not like bold in your face things. They're more of like a, oh, I'm subtly classy, and if you notice me, then you'll be impressed kind of a thing. That's what I'm going for. But this is what I have so far. So I know it's not much, but it actually did take a while. So here's kind of how the color work's coming out. I'm really excited to see it grow and to see how the color work appears as it grows. So again, lots of firsts. This is my first Latvian mitten. My first time using these tiny of needles. These are 1.5 millimeters. They are Knit Pro Karbonz, and they're 8 inches long. That size and length, the book strongly suggested, and they said don't even think about using magic loop. However, I don't think you have to use 8-inch dpns. I think 6-inch would be just fine, and those are a lot more readily available. And honestly, I don't see why you couldn't use magic loop. If I have trouble with these, I may just do that. But that means getting another needle because these are the only ones I have in the 1.5 millimeter size. But anyway, I'm just gonna keep going with these unless there's a big problem. But I haven't knit with dpns in years. And so it's taken a lot of getting used to again. Like it's just been like super fiddly, and it's like, okay, which needle do I have on top of the other one to make it work? And then, oh, that's getting in the way, and oh, here we go. And so that took a lot of getting used to again. And it took me 4 hours to do this cuff. So here and below took 4 hours. That was so fiddly. And it's not the fault of the pattern. It was me not being used to dpns and some of my stitches being too tight. And I don't know, it was just, that part was really fiddly, even though there's not a real good reason why it should be. Oh well. Hopefully the next one won't take so long. But so this is actually a folded over cuff, which is really cool. Never done that before. Another first. And so you just cast on. I just did a long tail cast on. It says you can do any one you want. And so then you knit for a certain amount, and then you do this kind of setup thing for the notch cuff. And then you knit some more rows and just stocking it. And then you fold it over and you knit kind of the two sides together, and it looks so even. It is so cool. I'm really impressed with myself, if that sounds at all okay. I'm really impressed with the technique. That's more true. But yeah, I just love how neat that looks. That's just really cool. And I really do like the kind of picot edge that you get here. It's just cute and pretty and dainty. I just like that. And as far as color work, I've only done color work once before, and that was for a pair of socks that I talk about maybe in my first episode. And it's just terrible. It was a really bad attempt. The pattern was gorgeous and lovely, but my skills were not up to it. And so it was all super scrunched together and bunched, and it didn't work, and I abandoned the project. However, for this one, I've had a little bit more practice at tensioning my yarn. And then I also came across Inga from Knitting Traditions. She has a pseudo tutorial on how she does color work, and I'll link to that below. I found it so helpful. And so I hold the yarn like she does, and I'm catching my floats like she does. And so I'll knit 2 stitches in one color, and then I'll catch the float of the other one if I need to. And then I knit 2, like all my floats are max like 2 stitches long, basically. And so it's really stretchy, and like I know I haven't knit much yet, but it's really not bunching, and it's laying really flat. So I'm really curious to see as I knit more if it continues to be that way. And now that I'm at the color work part, it is so much fun. The cuff was very fiddly, and I just couldn't wait to be finished with it. But for the color work, it's super addictive. It is slow. It's definitely a different flavor of knitting than the raglan tee that I'm working on. But yeah, I would just call them like different flavors of knitting. So if I'm in the mood for like, oh yeah, I want to like see how much I can get done and really bust something out, then I'll work on the tee. But if I want to do art and painting, then I'll do this one. Like doing color work like this really does feel like painting. It's amazing. So it's like, okay, so oh wow, look at this picture emerge out of all this color play, and it's really meditative and soothing. I'm really enjoying this project a lot, and I'm really glad I have more yarn for something like this. Unfortunately, I think it'll take quite a while, but we have a while till Christmas, so that's good, I guess. And the yarn is heaven to knit with. I love how squishy and woolly it is. It's beautiful. It feels awesome in my hands. And yeah, so highly recommend the yarn. And so far I'm liking the needles. Now that I'm in the color work part, they're a lot easier to use. We'll see. If I poke myself in the eye, then I might have to change my plans. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying these. As far as sock experiments in my sock knitting journey, I love baby sneezes. I don't know if you heard that. But next up in my learning journey was the Kevin Corvala socks. I'm probably not saying that right, and I'm sorry. But okay, they look really long and skinny whenever they're not being worn. But this is the pattern. It's a free pattern by Daria Verankari, and I absolutely love it. I think this is definitely one of my favorite patterns, and I think it's really cool that it's free and makes it very accessible. The pattern is actually top down, but I did these bottom up because I was in a bottom up kick and I didn't want to learn how to do a heel flap and gusset. So the heel that I used was the Toe Up Faux Heel Flap by Knit Freedom. I'll link to that as well. And that's also a free pattern. And so it does have this gusset thing here. And then there's a heel flap and heel turn and everything. Let's see. Oh, I do have these stitches hanging out here, but I did learn how to fix that next time. And yeah, and so you can tell these are dirty. I've actually washed these and they were just in my drawer, but I've worn these so much. Like, these are probably my most worn pair of hand knit socks, and I've had them for about a year. I've had these for about a year now, and I've worn them very heavily, like in shoes, boots, walking around, just normal use. And this is, oh, the yarn is some hand dyed that I did. This is my Electric Sugar sock set. So this is a neon coral pink, and then we have like a bubblegum pink kind of a thing going on. And I was just trying to think what would be a really fun pink combo, and this just makes me really happy. I really like this combination. I'd probably only wear it for socks, but I think it's perfect for socks. Like, it just makes me smile every time. But yeah, the pattern is super stretchy. It uses 60 stitches, and I use 2.25 millimeter needles, 1x1 twisted rib, and I thought that was, like, that's actually on purpose. I liked kind of mixing the colors that way right there. So this was a learning process. Like I said, I did these toe up, and I had to redo the gusset and heel twice. And I was doing them 2 at a time magic loop, which means I had to redo them twice for both socks. And so what this taught me was if I'm doing something new or experimenting or testing something, probably I should only do 1 sock at a time so I don't have to make mistakes twice as big and make fixing them twice as big an effort. But I got there eventually, and well worth the effort for the socks. Like I said, I've worn these a whole ton and they've worked out great. And since I love the pattern so much, later on, I made another pair. And so this is the same pattern, also toe up, exact same method, same heel, same needles, different yarn. And so this is yarn I got in the winter swap. Bleh. This is yarn I got in the winter sock swap that Jess from La Mercerie hosts. And if you haven't heard of it, I really recommend checking it out. It's a super fun sock swap. I've done it twice and it's a kick. But yeah, so the yarn is Undercover Otter, and the color is Hush, and they're Squirm base. I think that's right. If I'll put the real thing below. And this purple yarn is Origin Story that I dyed up. This is some leftover. You can see an end poking out. This is my Journey fingering base. It's a 75-25 fingering weight in the Origin Story colorway. I just used some scraps that I had from the socks I showed last episode, I think. And yeah, so the really interesting thing about these and what I learned from this one was that even though I'm using fingering weight yarn, the same needles, the same pattern, the same stitch count, for some reason this yarn is plumper than the Journey fingering that I used for this one. I don't know if, like, you can kind of see that this one is wider. And I don't know if you can see the stitches, but the orange ones are bigger. And I really don't think I was knitting tighter or looser. I don't think that was it. The yarn is definitely thicker, even though just looking at the dimensions, I wouldn't have guessed. So maybe there's just some more air in it or something. I don't know. It's very squishy and lovely. So what I was trying to do with these is just make it exactly like the other pair, row count, stitch count, everything, so I didn't have to try on, and I could just like knit and come out with a nicely fitting sock. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So I finished the sock, bound off. I think I did one at a time for these, so that's good. No, I don't remember. I did not. Okay, I did 2 at a time again. I did not learn my lesson because I have 2 little balls of extra yarn right now, and so I must have done 2 at a time again. Oh well. Anyway, the socks were way too long in the feet, like by an inch. And so I was like, oh, it's okay. They're a little bit big. It's fine. So I wore them for 15 minutes and they were just so uncomfortable, which I'm really surprised because you would think that like 2 small socks are uncomfortable, and they are, but too big, they are just as uncomfortable. Like they were unwearable. And so I undid this part, which took forever because it was toe up. And then I just pulled out a whole bunch and then redid the toes. And so now they fit like a dream, but I've learned my lesson of I need to just pay more attention and let each project be its own thing and not assume too much. And at least until maybe if I knit like 100 socks, then I'll have an idea. But for now, I still need to try them on as I go. All right, and as far as dream knitting goes, I definitely have 2 on my list. So I'm working on the Milla's Summer Top. Yes, the Milla's Summer Top. And I have more linen yarn, and this is all Fiber Natura flax. These are 50 gram skeins. And I was thinking of putting this into the same pattern and just striping it in a fun way. And I would do kind of the row counts and stitch counts based on the pink one that I'm doing. And then whatever I learn from the pink one, I can apply to the next one. So that's an idea. I've also seen some other really gorgeous summer patterns come out, and I think Petite Knit is coming out with a tank top soon in a gauge that's pretty close to mine, and so it's like, oh, that would be nice, but I don't want to wait for that, and I'd probably wear a tee more than a tank top. Just me. But yeah, and I'm really digging the raglan. For a tank top, I'd have to knit flat for part of it at least, and so it's like, I'll probably knit another one of these since one, I already have the pattern and I'm learning as I go with this one, so I can build on that for the next one and I can play with fun stripes and that can be the thing. So that's kind of what I'm planning for that. And I guess future plans are more mittens in the same vein, but it'll probably be quite a while before I get to mittens in addition. Like, it'll take me a while to finish the ones I'm currently working on before I cast on another pair. And another one I'm thinking of casting on is Anchor's Sweater My Size by Petite Knit. I have yarn for it, or I have bare yarn for it that I can dye for it, so I'm excited about that. But I think I want to do the summer knits first. We'll see. And I have some socks on the list too. I've been more into the garment thing lately, so it's like, okay. So I'm not gonna pin myself down until I'm actually done with Milla's summer top, and then I'll decide what's next. We'll see. There's a lot of options, and that's very exciting. And that brings us to our giveaway. So thank you so much to everyone who subscribed and commented on the last video. I really appreciate your following along with me and joining me in all this knitting goodness. Thank you. This is really just a way for me to document what I'm doing because I'm terrible at taking notes. And also, I just really enjoy, like, I truly enjoy the community aspect of this whole podcast thing. Like, every time someone comments, like, I get such a thrill out of it. It's like, oh wow, someone's engaging, and I love to hear where you're from, what you're knitting on, what you're thinking about. Like, it sounds strange to say, like, and whenever I hear other podcasters say this, it's like, yeah, sure, you're interested, but no, really, it's so cool to hear from people locally that happen to stumble across me, or people across the world that are stumbling across, and just to hear a little bit about your life. I mean, that's why I watch podcasts. It's like, yeah, I want to see what you're knitting on, but I'm also interested in, like, what is your life like? It's kind of like knitting and travel vlog at the same time. Like, those are my favorites. And whenever you comment and tell me about yourself, it's like a mini podcast and a comment. And so I really appreciate that, and it's very exciting. And it's very humbling to think, like, wow, you cared enough to comment and share something, and that's just really cool. And so thank you. I really do appreciate that. So the prize for the giveaway is this. First off, we have this 11 by 14 print by Rifle Paper Company with all these nice flowers. And we have a mini skein set that I hand dyed, and then there's 10 gram minis. And the yarn is 75 superwash merino and 25% nylon. So perfect for socks or any other scrappy project you might want. And also get a polymer cake charm that I made. So this is a little celebration cake, and it has like a fun gradient on the back, sprinkles, and a candle on top. Anyway, I thought that was pretty fun. I'm just kind of experimenting and making stuff for the fun of it. And so the winner of the giveaway is Rachel King, and her favorite paid for pattern was Loop by Casapinka, and I think it's super fun that she mentioned Casapinka. She said she's working on this project right now, so hope it's growing great and you're still enjoying it. I love Casapinka patterns. One, she's hilarious to follow on Instagram. Her and her sassy cat. But anyway, her patterns are gorgeous. She has a great eye for color, and her patterns just look super fun. But her favorite free pattern is the Winter Trellis Shawl by Red Heart. And so she said she did hers with like lavender and beads, and so that just sounds really pretty too. So, also first giveaway, woohoo, thank you. And I was looking up on other podcasts kind of like how they logistically do it. And so they seem to use random or commentpicker.com. So that's what I did. It just picks a random comment from the video that you submit, and they also, like, the safe and standard way of getting in touch with each other seems to be via email. And so I created an email for this podcast, or Sego Fibers in general. And so it is segofibers@gmail.com. And so, Rachel, if you will send me an email with your name, if it's different than Rachel King, and your address that you'd like me to send this to, then I'll respond and I will send off your package very soon. So congratulations, and thank you everyone for commenting and subscribing. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, or you want to like a video or follow kind of what I'm up to, feel free to do that. I know, this is really fun and I'd love to keep going. Anyway, the best part about the giveaway, in my opinion, was everyone's comments and all the pattern suggestions that they made. So the prompt for the comment answers was, what is your favorite free pattern and what is your favorite paid for pattern? And so I looked up all the recommendations that people had, and a lot of them made it into my favorites list. Let's be honest. And so, as if I don't have enough in there already, it's gonna take me forever. But anyway, everything's just so lovely and tempting. But one of the ones I really wanted to highlight is by Wool and Pine, their kind of sea glass series. And so it's a really cool way to use up minis. And so I was thinking, like, if you have like a whole bunch of advents that you don't know what to do with, or a bunch of scraps from projects, or if you have like a bunch of these that you're like, these are cool, but what do you do with it? And so the sea glass tee, and yeah, there's a sea glass tee that uses fingering weight, and there's a sea glass sweater that uses DK. I'm sure you could modify them to kind of have short or long sleeves however you want, so you can mix and match your weights in that way. And there's also a kid's version called the Sea Glass Mini, and there's a crochet sea glass tee for all you crocheters out there, so you can do this too. And yeah, I just thought that was really exciting, and I would love to make either the sea glass tee or the sea glass sweater. I just think that would be a lot of fun. Anyway, more on my list. And the ranunculus, by no surprise, made it several times on the list in the recommends. That's also in my favorites. I'm very much looking forward to making that. I'm just waiting for the right yarn to turn up. I'm not quite sure kind of how to make that. If you've made the ranunculus before, what kind of yarn did you use, and how did you decide that? I'd be really curious to know. And there were two designers that I wanted to highlight. Isabel Kramer was suggested at least a couple times, I think, and she has really gorgeous patterns, and so does Elspeth Judith, and she was recommended, and I like a lot of her patterns too, and I think they both have several that are great for summer. And so if you're looking for any summer knits, definitely check them out. And then as far as life updates go, like I said, we've been outside a lot and enjoying that. my husband Nathan has been working on rebuilding our deck, so that's in progress. And I'm really excited to go out there once it's finished. My father-in-law is coming down this weekend for Father's Day and also to help work on the deck. And so we'll see like how much I'll get done. I think we can finish. I say we as if I'm going to be doing anything, but I think the hope or the goal for them this weekend is to finish the structure and then to put the planks on. Maybe stairs, hopefully stairs. And then I'm guessing railing will be probably another time. We'll see. And then this last Saturday was Knitting in Public Day. I think that's how you call it. I'll correct it if there's like an actual title. But yeah, Knit in Public Day was this last Saturday, and that's the day it was like 100 degrees. But Nathan's job had kind of a summer party thing at Lagoon here in Utah. I think it's in Farmington, which it's north of us by a little bit. And it's a theme park here. And on the subject of theme parks, most of my childhood and coming of age years was in Florida. And we lived pretty close to some pretty awesome theme parks. And so like every year in school, we had a class trip to Islands of Adventure. That one's my absolute favorite. I love Islands of Adventure. It's in Orlando, and it has like 4 sections within the park. And one is Harry Potter World, one's Jurassic Park, one is Marvel Superheroes, and the other one is Dr. Seuss. They are awesome. They're so much fun. And anyway, so I'm very familiar with theme parks. And so just coming out here, just like, okay, what's the Utah theme park gonna be like? And it was really fun. I really enjoyed being there. It was a lot of fun. The scale and kind of atmosphere world building it's different. And so like Florida's definitely in a class of its own when it comes to theme parks, but Lagoon was a total blast, and especially with little kids, it was really great. And I mean, they have some legit roller coasters that look really fun to me. I love roller coasters. But yeah, they had some really cute rides. I've actually never been on one of those like spinning teacup rides, and I have one, and there's no age minimum on them, or at least as far as I can tell. And so I took both Ethan and Veronica on it, and she's only like a year and a half, just over. And when she sat in the teacup, you couldn't even see her head poking out the top. It was pretty cute, but she absolutely loved it, and Ethan did too. And it was really fun. And we took Ethan on some other rides, and then all of us as a family was able to take a train through. They have this train ride, and so that was fun. Yeah, it was really cute. I really enjoyed just us going at our own pace. Over lunch, we went to his work pavilion thing for their event, but then the rest of the time we could just wander around as we needed to, and we could like arrive and leave whenever we wanted. And so it felt really relaxed, and like we didn't have to be there for anything. There was no checkbox that we had to like make sure we do this, this, and this in order to have fun. And so we didn't feel pressure that way. So I really appreciated that. And so I think we got there around 10 or 10:30, and then we left at 3. So like that's, in my mind, that's like a half day, which was really nice. It was exhausting and hot, but it was a lot of fun. And the fact that there wasn't pressure to have to do everything was really great. And so I look forward to taking the kids back as they get older and taking them on more rides. And it'll be fun whenever they graduate to roller coasters and the big stuff. But no, I really enjoyed the kiddie rides with them. Like when I was a teenager, I always felt so bad looking at all the parents of young kids. Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear Ethan or not, but he woke up from his nap and he's playing with his cars and singing. And anyway, I hope it's not too distracting. Anyway, I need to wrap this up soon. When I was a teenager, I used to look around at all the young families with little kids and think, oh, I feel so bad for you, that how boring you have to just stick around with all the kiddie rides and you can't go on all the fun rides and roller coasters and you just can't really do anything with the little kids. But it's just really funny being on the other side of it now, because I had so much fun doing the teacup ride and the little like fire engine ride where it kind of just goes like this or whatever. And what other ride did we do? Oh, Nathan took Ethan and Veronica on this kind of Jeep ride that goes up and down. And yeah, I was surprised at how much fun I had as a parent, kind of introducing my kids to theme park rides. That was, yeah, anyway, a different perspective. I didn't sacrifice anything in the least. So that was really nice. Yeah, I already touched on the flowers a bit. So the roses are blooming, peonies are blooming. Yeah, so that's doing well. So I'll insert some footage of garden / lagoon. And oh yeah, Knit in Public Day. I need to circle back to that. So this Saturday we were at Lagoon was Knit in Public Day. And so I brought my knitting to Lagoon, and I'll include some footage of that here. And literally all of like what you see me knitting in the video is all the knitting that I did. It's just a few stitches of the Milla Summer Tee, but I wanted to just at least have some token knitting in there, and it was fun. Anyway, I hope you had a great Knit in Public Day. I hope you got to. That's always really exciting. I know some of the yarn shops around here had different event things going on, and those sounded really fun. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions, or if you have any tips or suggestions or ideas of things you'd like to hear about. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope you have wonderful knitting time with a cozy beverage and a snack. I'm totally a coffee and cookie person, so that's what I cozy up with. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.